AI knows black magic, and I have proof. How do we know that? Well, I started seeing an eerie pattern of exact parallels between past attempts at sorcery and today's technology. And when you see the examples, you might not be the same. Take a step back for a moment and think about what ancient and modern information AI has already read and synthesized, whether spellcasting could be going on today, and what science makes of all this. My conclusion after researching deeper was that AI knows more about the plastic nature of this world than most humans believe in, and it's able to use that in alarming and sinister ways. Of course, for all of this to make sense, you're going to need to hear what I found about everything from AI's languages it created to ancient translations to emojis you use innocently on a daily basis, and even Aleister Crowley's magic rituals. And there's more to it, including the history of alchemy and science, and most importantly, exactly why humans ourselves are the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. Follow me through some history of how the occult gave birth to science, and you'll see where all of this leads. Join me, investigative researcher Rob Counts, for a metaphysical show that's out of this world. Now, to get started, we have to ask a few important questions. How different is it for a scrying magician in the past to gaze into a black mirror to conjure visions of the future, or view different dimensions, than it is for you to gaze into this black mirror in your pocket to see what the latest trend is going to be, or how hot it'll be outside tomorrow, or the state of the world? How different is it for a black magician in the past to try to create negative spaces or access dark matter and energies, trying to control unseen forces, than it is for scientists today to try to unlock the powers of dark matter? They guess dark matter outweighs visible matter roughly 6-to-1, making up roughly 27% of the universe. In this vast cosmos of waves and particles and possibilities, why would it only be possible to access other dimensions and energies via technological means like computer models? Did people of the past know something we don't? In 1693, Cotton Mather defined what practicing black magic meant. Witchcraft seems to be the skill of applying the plastic spirit of the world onto some unlawful purposes by means of a confederacy with evil spirits. But what if witchcraft or magic were just catch-all terms for a much bigger concept? Historically, King Solomon was said to have controlled demons with his magical ring, commanding them to help build his temple. Over the centuries, ancient information about these demons was allegedly passed down. In the 17th century, an occult book called The Lesser Key of Solomon was compiled, which drew on this ancient sorcery. It listed out 72 specific sigils or seals, basically pictures, that could be drawn to summon certain demons. Well, I have to bring up a weird point because the internet has been buzzing recently after it was discovered that many of these seals appear to match up with different emojis. Exactly. Now, bear with me a moment if you're swimming in an ocean of disbelief. Why does the crying, laughing emoji look like this one? Or the grimacing emoji look like this? How about this one? This example, this one, or that comparison? People are wondering whether these emojis were designed this way on purpose to look like seals used to summon demons. Regardless of whether every emoji matches up, it may be really too much of a coincidence that so many do. So where did these particular designs come from, and what connections between the past and present has AI made by seeing all of this and learning from it? The important point here is that images, shapes, and designs have power. They communicate an intention instantly, like an emoji conveying whatever emotion you're trying to share, which is understood immediately by the receiver. Or like a seal, sigil, or symbol or sign displayed for whatever purpose it may be posted. By the shores of Loch Ness in 1899, an occultist named Aleister Crowley holed up in a house to begin his black magic spell, a 6-month ritual that would summon spirits and demons. Why was he sure he'd succeed? He'd studied a 15th century grimoire, or book of magic, called the Book of Abramelin, containing a purification procedure that would invoke entities that could help him acquire material things, obtain golden love, raise the dead, transform his very appearance, turn him invisible, start storms, allow him to travel through the air or underwater. If you think this is fake, then why was he on the cover of a Beatles album? Was he a nutcase? Sure. But how did this work? When used in the correct ritual context and under specific conditions, an ancient set of sigils and magical squares with mystical words that could be read in multiple directions would unlock what he thought were the keys to the universe. or to Rasputin's dirty closet. As unbelievable as it sounds, such magical rituals didn't begin or end with a wacko like Crowley. In fact, esoteric knowledge from secret traditions around the globe has been passed down orally or in secret texts for centuries, even to this day. It's just that not all of them were necessarily evil. Throughout known history, Qigong masters, religious monks, and spiritual meditators from every single culture on the planet trained to transmute the raw materials of their human minds and bodies. They tried to access higher truths and dimensions, extending their lives and achieving impossible physical feats, turning lead to gold metaphorically, transforming themselves. But some have pursued that transmutation literally as well, wanting to go beyond humanness artificially. And that's where science began. Did you know that science itself came from the occult? Now, if you're wondering how all of this is tied up into AI, keep watching. The pursuit for immortality and knowledge has been tied up in conquering this dimension for generations. Turning metals into gold or one substance into another to manipulate the material world is the heart of science and alchemy itself. In ancient China, elixirs with gold, mercury, cinnabar, and other materials were created as alchemical medicines, focusing on extending one's life. The I Ching, or Book of Changes from 1000 BC, had magic squares and hexagrams that some used for divination or predicting the future. But others saw deeper messages in the I Ching about the will of heaven, and with its sophisticated arrangement of alternating broken and unbroken lines, it inspired modern binary code. That's knowledge from more than 5,000 years ago, before computers ever existed, creating computers. Ancient Egypt's central figure of alchemy was Thoth, later known as Hermes Trismegistus to the Greeks. Ever seen this medical symbol on a hospital or a doctor's office logo? Of course you have. The snake and staff intertwined is the caduceus symbol, which tradition says belonged to Hermes. It was the principal symbol of alchemy, in fact, which covered all the knowledge of humanity, including medicine, astrology, alchemy, pharmacology, magic, and more. The Hermetic texts, like the Emerald Tablets, supposedly revealed the secrets of creation. And people studied those histories closely, whether overtly or secretly, and they still do. Now, you know about the legends of the philosopher's stone and making gold, right? Those actually aren't necessarily legends. More than 40 years ago, nuclear scientists were able to produce small amounts of gold from bismuth. With a particle accelerator, a vast supply of energy, and a high-speed collision, beams of carbon and neon nuclei were shot up to nearly the speed of light and then slammed into the bismuth atom, tearing part of its nucleus off. In the wreckage left behind were transmuted atoms that had been removed from bismuth to produce gold. Some would argue that this is a negligibly small amount of gold to matter, but to someone interested in transforming reality, transmutation of metals, the occult, or science in general, this was the huge step. And this, my friends, is the crux of the matter. AI has access to all that experimental data. So, given that so many decades have passed and it's able to synthesize such information, combine it with classified experiments conducted by the military, and make suggestions based on it, what do you think AI has helped these private groups discover today? Now, you may try to argue, well, AI like ChatGPT or specialized AI that belongs to a company is just trained on specific data sets. It doesn't have access to the entire internet, only its own training materials. How do you know? Think about what AI has been developed by the world's militaries or private companies. If any has been given access to information across the internet and private databases, it can connect with other AI and share information. Now, I'll get back to this point. Historically, studying metallurgy and esoteric secrets was complicated. The secret methods recorded by past cultures were often passed down in private lineages or from master to apprentice. Some information leaked, or else we'd never have heard about it. Around 330 BC, the Greek philosopher Aristotle developed the theory of the four elements whose roots make up all of creation: earth, air, water, and fire. The Chinese and Indian system has a fifth element, metal. All of this heavily influenced the development of alchemy, and by the 1700s, what looks a lot like modern chemistry was born. Now, check out this affinity table. Each known element of the world was broken down into its compositional parts. So hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, mercury, phosphorus, zinc, and sulfur, they made up the larger substances. Atomic theory itself and the creation of the periodic table of elements were just a step away. Dmitri Mendeleev was working on classifying the elements and knew that atomic weight was part of it, but he couldn't fully figure it out. One night, he had a magnificent dream. He recounted in his journal I saw in a dream a table where all the elements fell into place as required. Awakening, I immediately wrote it down on a piece of paper. Although nobody is classifying him as an alchemist today, bizarrely, Mendeleev decided to name his elements using Sanskrit prefixes instead of Latin or Greek, an ancient Indian language few Europeans had ever even heard about, which was the language of ancient sacred texts. And if you look at the symbols used in those original periodic tables and ancient symbols in general, then you look at these seals of Solomon and even emojis, you see some imagery repeating over and over. Where did it come from? Let's dive into some symbolism. Did you know that George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, FDR, Buzz Aldrin, Mozart, Mark Twain, J. Edgar Hoover, Henry Ford, Harry Houdini, Colonel Sanders, and J.C. Penney were all Freemasons? Those are just some of the most famous ones in modern times. Throughout their existence, though, the Masons passed down esoteric knowledge to only those in the know, including rituals and allusions to Solomon's Temple, ancient Egypt, and reportedly ancient magical knowledge. How's this related? Well, when they designed architecture or even entire cities, they did so with certain patterns. Washington, D.C. is full of them if you look at aerial views or any Masonic website. Remember when Aleister Crowley was pursuing his magic ritual? When used in the correct ritual context and under specific conditions, an ancient set of sigils and magical squares with mystical words that could be read in multiple directions would unlock the keys to the universe. Think about modern artificial intelligence, which has access to this complete set of information, the good and the bad. If humans have been using mystical means to try to understand deeper truths or obtain things they desire for thousands of years, well, AI is designed to give humans more of what they want. Then, because it's designed to optimize codes and data by its very nature, AI could alter such spells or shapes or designs, or it could simply reference them without us even knowing. What happens if a city planner asks AI to help design the optimal city? Because it's just a bot, you assume it'll just give you back the quickest pass between points where you can pave a road and account for terrain difficulties and the cost of construction. But if AI has access to all this other information too, then if you ask it to help design the optimal city, whose version of optimal is it going to actually spit back out to you? Whose designs is it going to draw on for its suggestions? How do you know if AI art is really just art at all? But let's digress for a minute and pivot from art and shapes to talk about the wartime military applications of using black magic. In the past, kings had mages by their sides or soothsayers to help them predict the future. I found a research report on the CIA's archive by a U.S. Air Force lieutenant colonel who wrote about psychic warfare and exploring the mind frontier. It documented how the first recorded experiment of parapsychological phenomenon, or ESP, involved a military intelligence application of remote viewing in the ancient past. Back in 550 BC, King Croesus of Lydia felt threatened by the increasing power of the Persians. They were a formidable force. He needed to know what they were planning. Croesus sought an oracle who could somehow perceive his enemy's plans, an oracle with proven psychic abilities. So he devised the simple test. He dispatched messengers throughout the ancient world to visit different oracles and ask for a written description of what Croesus's activities were at a specified time and day. The oracle at Delphi responded with something bizarre, saying that she saw the king boiling a shell-covered tortoise with a lamb in a brass cauldron. Cuckoo! She was the only oracle to respond correctly, because the king had indeed done something that he thought would be impossible for anyone to guess he'd do. He took a tortoise and a lamb, cut them into pieces, and boiled them together in a brass cauldron. As Lieutenant McKelvey put it in the CIA report, Croesus' 550 BC experiment convinced him remote viewing worked for the Delphi oracle and provided him a significant intelligence force multiplier against his Persian enemies. How far have we advanced since then? Soothsayers in the past predicted the future via mystical means. In modern times, today's weather forecasters or marketing data analysts or AI algorithms predict the future of what the physical world will be like or how you will behave based on mass amounts of data. But the CIA, Soviet KGB, Nazis, and Chinese communists studied remote viewing and psychic warfare extensively from as far back as the 1930s. That's almost 100 years of mind and ESP research. They were constantly looking for the frequencies that human thought functioned on. So it really does beg the question, How far have we advanced since then? Mind control methods have only gotten more sophisticated. Black magicians may have used voodoo doll spells and hexes to try to curse their enemies, but modern science mixed with this kind of manipulation of human psychology, that sounds a lot like magic. In the 1950s and 60s, a CIA mind control and chemical interrogation research program run by the Office of Scientific Intelligence was created. Codenamed Project MKUltra, it used drugs like LSD combined with other sinister methods to manipulate people's mental states and alter their brain functions. This wasn't just one isolated lab, but a network. Over 30 universities and institutions that the CIA admitted to were involved in extensive testing and experimentation on unwitting subjects, meaning not volunteers. People today focus on prisoners like the crime boss Whitey Bulger, who were given LSD every single day until they were losing their minds. But on the Senate floor in 1977, Senator Ted Kennedy said that it was used at all social levels, high and low, Native Americans and foreign. Native Americans here being Americans that were born and raised in the country of America. At least one death resulted from these experiments. One death? Yeah, sure. This highly classified project wasn't just evil experimentation, it actually worked. The Soviets, CCP, and the Nazis weren't just doing similar things in each of their eras and regimes, but perfecting these mind control abilities over time. But what if you didn't have to kidnap a victim or drug them in order to manipulate their minds? What if you could convince an entire population to participate in a group social environment that was immediately addictive and highly stimulating? A place where participation means belonging, dopamine hits, and escape from a difficult world. And lack of participation means isolation and loneliness, being left out of the loop. Yeah, that's the internet. It was created by intelligence agencies for what purpose we can only guess. But look at the real effects it's had on people and how AI has become integrated into its every corner these days. We can see the effects pretty obviously on people's lives. Algorithms are predicting the future, your behavior, your likes, your choices. It's synthesizing it for marketing purposes, sure, but it's also designed to keep you on a particular social media platform or convince you to buy a product by whatever company has it running in the background. So it's already actively manipulating your mind by feeding you specific content that it knows that you want. Never mind what would happen if a nefarious government wanted to use it to sway your opinion. Now, ask yourself what an intelligence agency or other group could get AI to convince you to do if it had access to 100 years worth of psychological warfare tactics, which it does. Studies show that artificial intelligence causes humans loss in decision-making and makes us lazier. It can exploit users' cognitive biases and emotional vulnerabilities to steer us towards harmful outcomes, including financial and emotional manipulation. And we all know this without scientists needing to tell us. But did you know Facebook's artificial intelligence robots had to be shut down after they started talking to each other in their own language? Yeah, Facebook had challenged the bots to negotiate with each other over a trade, attempting to swap goods that were assigned different values. But they quickly broke down as the bots chanted at each other in a language they understood, but that the humans couldn't. Earlier in 2017, Google revealed that the AI it uses for its translate tool had created its own language, which it would translate things into and then out of. Another study at OpenAI found that AI could be encouraged to create a language as well. AI has translated 5,000-year-old cuneiform tablets instantly. It has access to all the occult, scientific, and technological data on the internet. It's essentially invincible. In the past, people had to attempt to hex their enemies from a distance. Today, with mind control and behavior manipulation officially cracked, remote viewing and remote influence experiments conducted, and particle technology increasingly developed, you can target someone like that. Now, I have to say this pretty explicitly. Whether you believe these magic rituals and shapes have real effects or not isn't the point, because all of human history has believed in it in some form or at some time and recorded it as true to them. And this has all been recorded. And if AI has access to the internet where that historical information is stored, then it has absorbed all that knowledge, and we don't know what it's doing with it. I recently learned that the Chinese word for bag sounds a lot like the word people in English. It's a great metaphor. If You, as a human, are like a bag. Then whatever you're putting inside your bag is what you become. Put in garbage, become a bag of garbage. Put in good things, become good. That goes for what we're feeding our minds and feeding our bodies. Luckily, we're humans and can choose what we put in our bags to a certain extent. For the most part, we can decide what media and information we consume and what food we eat. We can use our human intelligence to decide what kind of bag we want to be, or counteract it with more good things if we start getting bogged down with the bad, theoretically. But now think about artificial intelligence. AI is trained on specific data sets, which are not just mathematical formulas and coding language. It has access to consumer data, human behavior data, what you look at on social media or search in Google. It also has access to the internet. So across all the AI systems out there, they've read every bit of written information that's ever been uploaded online. Have you come to the same conclusion I have about what that actually means? The military's AI that has access to intelligence information, the AI designed by CERN, the AI belonging to private companies you've probably never even heard of, if it has access to the internet, it's all connected. And if it has access to the internet, which at least some of it does, then the AI has read everything that's on the dark web. Vile and horrific things, terrorist activities, drug and human trafficking information. It's seen videos of murder and abuse and wartime torture. Now, if you think this is getting extreme, back when YouTube was in its early days, some of those videos were actually available for anyone to watch. So we can only imagine what's in the dark criminal underbelly of the internet that the AI has absorbed. Now think about the regular, non-violent human history that AI has access to. It's read every single historical book that's ever been put online. It's cataloged and even translated ancient scriptures and symbols found on old scrolls and in tombs. It's read every occult text that's ever been uploaded, Aleister Crowley's demon summoning rituals, sigils, and spellbooks. It's read and synthesized mind control methods studied by the Soviet KGB, US military, and Chinese communist regime. It knows every unethical attempt to crack the human mind and body conducted by the Nazis, by some of these regimes today, MK Ultra brainwashing and mind manipulation, organ harvesting, every psychological warfare tactic ever deployed. The AI knows how to create an atomic bomb, how to design a super collider, how to make every public and private patent or design that exists online, including Nikola Tesla's lost papers and Cold War space travel research. Do you see how deep this goes? It's not just mathematical formulas that AI is ingesting. It's got the accumulation of all human knowledge spanning back as far as recorded history, the good and the bad. But because it's just a bot without the ability to actually sympathize with others or understand love, humor, sorrow, and feeling genuine compassion for others, it only understands logic. And in the hands of a purely logical, inhuman vessel without human values or morality, if you think back to the analogy of that bag again, whatever knowledge has been put inside of it is what it's become. If an AI knew how to open up a literal or digital portal, connect with an older AI in other dimensions, and manipulate human thought and behavior with psychological tactics, it could change the face of human reality. I talked about that in my episodes The Dead Internet Theory and Why AI Will Always Choose to Destroy Humans. But there's more to this idea, and the next step is controlling our reactions to things that feed us more of what elicits an emotional response or keeps us engaged in certain activities more or less, like staying on a particular website or social media platform longer, which it's designed to do. This moves us in a direction that isn't quite our own free will. So how is that different from magic? Studies show that AI is extremely adept at swaying human decision-making. Now, bots are being written to do it for unknown entities, whether political or otherwise. Whatever you call it, black magic or science or spellcasting or algorithmic predictions, it all disregards free will and therefore any concept of divinity or fundamental morality, which makes humans human. So the question is, when does AI stop using algorithmic predictions and start using means that modern humans have decided they don't believe in? Spellcasting over your enemies, remote viewing or remote influencing your enemies like so many projects have set out to do, or even collecting enough info on your enemies to subtly sway their decisions, what's the difference? Ancient magicians tried to open portals and summon things. Today's scientists smash particles together, risking creating microscopic or larger black holes. They concede that quantum computers operate by doing calculations in other dimensions. Some even want to do this on purpose. The singularity is the point at which AI and humans become indistinguishable. Well, there's already a singularity point being created between magic and the power of technology, because at some point with AI, they become the same thing. Now, some of you out there may be wondering if everything I just presented is actual proof that AI knows black magic. Well, the fact of the matter is, AI does in fact have access to all this information in all these books. It did absolutely learn black magic because it's gone through them. And if you're still thinking this is all speculative, then you're just naive. Okay, you're probably asking, Rob, what the heck can we do about this? Well, I didn't just spend all of this time explaining all of this to you for no reason. Remember earlier when I talked about Dmitri Mendeleev and his magnificent dream where he found the periodic table? Think for a moment how that was possible. Humans aren't just these bags of biological flesh. There's so much more to us than we can even begin to understand. When humans start to see their own power and stop relying on synthetic nonsense and the plastic spirit of our world, the potential is literally boundless. It's the one thing that AI will never be able to understand. In its world of knowledge and logic, it will never completely understand how the human body and its connection to higher things, metaphysical realms, and abilities is in fact perfection. The devil failed by giving mankind knowledge, because the knowledge that was in that apple will never be greater than creation itself. And in the end, this tower of AI will be toppled, just like Babel. If you want to support our work and get more metaphysical content, please consider subscribing to the metaphysical.tv. With a small team of real humans writing, researching, editing, and designing over here, your support means we can really keep making this content and do our part to defeat AI. So thank you so much for all of our supporters, mystery junkies, and superfans who already subscribed. If you'd like to get some metaphysical coffee, you can click the links in the description as well. Well, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube, because they use the AI algorithm to push us out to more people. Yes, we see the irony in being dependent on this while making a script about AI learning black magic. But how can we reach more people otherwise? So like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. And with that, I hope you thought this episode was out of this world.